once again on another edition of Around the Wickets on ThePapare.com. Well, today we're going to talk about Sri Lanka, the World Cup, and of course what we have for Sri Lanka cricket in general. Now, there were a few issues, controversies about who might be Sri Lanka's captain. Thankfully, that's been sorted out. The good news is Lasith Malinga hasn't said anything about him not being available, so we are assuming he's going to be there. And the 15-man squad has been announced too. Now, that's the good news about cricket. The good news about Around the Wickets on ThePapare.com is we got Malinda Warnapura. Lovely to have you.
Always.
Good. Right, so former Sri Lanka opener, Test opener, has tons of experience as a first-class cricketer. Malinda, and of course, I must also remind you, he's a coach. He's a renowned coach. So Malinda, first impressions about Sri Lanka's World Cup squad. Are you happy at the fact that Dimuth Karunaratne has been made captain? It's obviously a compromise because Malinga, they were saying he should be made captain. People made us understand that Malinga wanted the captaincy. Matthews was not interested. We heard there were factions. Sorry, my question is long, but I'm just asking you, what are your thoughts?
I think the first option for me is Angelo Matthews.
Right.
Because we all know that he has been asking many times, but he said, no, he's not going to.
But is it fair? I'm sorry, I'm stopping you. Is it fair? Because he was made captain, suddenly removed. So you can't be treating someone like that, isn't it? I mean, you've got to respect the player.
That's what everyone is talking about. So, when you look at the squad, I think the most experienced player, the best batsman, and Angelo would have been captain. When you just look at the team, most experienced, and but end of the day, when he refused, then the national selectors, Sri Lanka cricket, they'll have to go for another option. So as we all know that it was Lasith Malinga and Dimuth Karunaratne, and then they named Dimuth Karunaratne as captain. So at this moment, we could go on about Dimuth and said that okay, he has not played a single ODI for the last year or two. He has only played 15 ODIs, but at this moment, Sri Lanka cricket, all the selectors have picked 15 players, and out of that, Dimuth has been appointed as captain. So we all have to support the Sri Lanka team and stay behind them, and we have to support them because at this moment they've been going through a lot of issues. So I'm sure, and anyone doesn't want these things to carry to the World Cup or England, and they just want to leave everything behind and support Dimuth, and that is what the team has been saying, that they all want Dimuth Karunaratne as captain. So we wish him well, good luck, and also the 15 players.
Yeah, good. Definitely, that should be the motto. We should be really looking to support the captain and the team, and there's no point trying to split hairs over it. But now, when it comes to a World Cup, there are certain, not principles, but there are certain guidelines that selectors use. One of the guidelines is experience. So, on that score, this is on a cricketing angle. I'm not talking about any personal angle here. How much of a challenge would it be for Sri Lanka to throw in an inexperienced captain in a World Cup? Because Dimuth can be considered the least experienced captain to lead Sri Lanka after Anura Tennakoon. That happened in 1975 and Anura led in 79 also, but he was the regular captain. So, Malinda, how do you see that?
There is definitely a challenge for Dimuth, but once again the same issue comes out because when you look at the squad, remember about 4 years ago when Aravinda De Silva was the chairman selector, he mentioned that a player should who wants to be in the World Cup squad at least play 50 ODIs.
Exactly.
So this is what he was talking about Angelo Matthews, and they wanted him to play enough of games for experience. So then again when he comes here, when you look at the team and the captain, it's always going to be a challenge for Dimuth because he's the least experienced player, and given the captaincy, once again it's going to be a challenge. But then again, he captained against South Africa, and the team is.
But they were test matches,
yeah.
Malinda. Let's not forget that.
So
you know that white ball is different to red ball.
So as I said earlier, this is going to be a challenge because it's always for Dimuth Karunaratne. Anyone would say, for my personal view, I would say, how can Dimuth Karunaratne will be a captain because he has not played a one-day game for the last 2 or 3 years, and he has played only 15 ODIs. So it's a personal view. But when it comes to the team, once again, if the selectors have no other options, and if they want someone to captain the team, or they should have called someone else then to lead the team, because to keep them together. So this is an issue for them. So we could go and make more issues, but I don't think it's not the time.
Right. Okay. So I'm not kind of going to details of the squad because it's reasonable, but I think Kasun Rajitha, Angelo Pereira, Vanidu Hasaranga, Ushada Fernando will consider themselves unlucky. I think particularly Vanidu Hasaranga, because the selectors appears to have based their selection to some extent on the interprovincial tournament. So that's where I see Lahiru Tirimana and Jeevan Mendis coming in. Now, if you were a selector, do you think you would have taken that decision? Because we're talking about a provincial tournament. But of course, they got to fill in 15 players. So how would have you done it differently?
As selectors, there's another problem here, because they have to make sure that they are responsible for the team or what are the actions they take. Because they've been appointed, I'm sure, about 1 year ago. So they know that there's a World Cup coming in. How are we going to prepare? We should have a plan. Now they can't give excuses. And when they had a tour of South Africa, it's a simple theory. If they have a name like Dimuth Karunaratne to be captain in the World Cup, they should have captain Dimuth Karunaratne in South Africa.
See, but Malinda, the issue was, I think, in fairness to the selectors, when the South African white ball team was selected, I don't think we had these issues. I think they were thinking of Maling all the time.
So then again, they had new players, Angelo Pereira, Oshada Fernando, Premal Pereira on a tour against South Africa just before the World Cup. And then they play another Super 4 tournament in Sri Lanka, and they say, we are going to fill the rest of the players from this tournament. So I feel there are few players who are really lucky to be in this squad, because
like whom? You like to name them?
It's not nice to name them, because it's a fair call, because some of the players who've been playing for that side for many years been taken out, and some of the few players who just do something good in this Super 4 tournament have been coming to the side. So they are really lucky. But then again, you said selectors also mentioned that this the Super 4 tournament is going to be vital, and they have selection.
Now, Malinda, I want to stop you. Now, you said that there were certain players who have played regularly and some players have been unlucky. Of course, we can name at least. But two names that most people are asking questions about are Niroshan Dikwella and Akila Dhananjay. Now, I would have picked Niroshan Dikwella any day of the week, provided, he was in his usual form. Akila Dhananjay, the story is that he appears to have lost his effectiveness. What are your thoughts on these two being left out?
Dikwella, we all know that one of my favorite players is Niroshan Dikwella, who could change the game. But unfortunately, his form or the current form is not that good. So if I say I want him, then it's unfair, because
Ashanda Timmel said an interesting thing. I don't know whether you're watching that media briefing. He said, when I switch on the TV, after a few overs, Dikwella is out. So that was his opinion. I'm not belittling the chairman, but I'm just saying he was basically trying to say that Dikwella has been going through a very poor run. But that was the way he said it.
And the same way, like with Akila Dhananjay, remember he's saying he's the only off spinner we have, and we want him in the World Cup. So we want him to get cleared, and the next tour he's going to play. He's the only wicket-taking bowler. But when you look at the World Cup squad, we don't have Akila Dhananjay.
But do you think you would have picked him after that South African performance and the Super Provincial performance? Because when the little bit of research I did, they think that Akila Dhananjay, with his remodeled action, seem to have lost that that wicket-taking ability, and now he's looking a little bit more friendlier.
That's what any off spinner or any bowler who will be had a suspected action and cleared himself, when he come back, we can't expect him to be the same bowler, because always he'll have that fear with him.
Correct.
But then again, he's a wicket-taking bowler, and this
he's
is
an experienced player.
One of the experienced players. So there's
correct. That's true. I agree. I think Akila Dhananjay's omission had a few eyebrows raised. So, but at the end of the day, it's the selector's call. We are here simply to try and give you our views, get Malinda's views, analyze it, and just see, and maybe give you a different opinion. Then there were few questions asked about Milinda Sirivardhana coming into the side. Then Dhananjay de Silva suddenly appears to be more of a floater, more of a bowler batsman than the batsman who could bowl a few overs. Now, lots of eyebrows raised, particularly regarding Milinda Sirivardhana's selection. But again, when we heard the chairman of selectors, it was more like wanting to balance the side, just wanting to make sure that the side had the right resources?
So when you pick 15 players, selectors will always justify and they'll say, this is why we are playing him, this is why we are having him. So, we can fight all day. Why is he here? Why is he not here? But the thing is, now when you look at Malinda Sirivardhan, we have only left-arm spinner in the side. So you can say that. You can say, he's a middle order batter who can clear the ropes. So there are a few things that you could add for his inclusion. Then again, if you look at few other players, we could say too young or just coming into the side, and a few of them just played in the Super 4 tournament. So there are good things and bad things, but one thing is the selectors have to be responsible. This is what I say, because they know that there is a World Cup, and suddenly now they say, the chairman selector is saying, we had a very few time, so this is what we could do. You can't say that. You are responsible for the team. You know there's a World Cup coming in. You know there's a South Africa tour before the World Cup. Who are my players? Who are the fast bowlers? Who are the spinners? And we have 5 all-rounders in the side, because we all talk about Isaru Udana and ThePapare as fast bowling all-rounders. Then we have Malinda Sirivardhan, Jeevan Mendis and Dhananjaya now has become an all-rounder. As you said, a bowler batsman.
A floater.
So
just keeps floating up and down.
That's what I always say. Selectors can make you a test player, you can make them your one-day player, suddenly you can make him an all-rounder.
You know what I like to make of him? I like to make him a selector. Well, slightly different thing that I want to address is Sri Lanka's security in the World Cup. Well, I'm sure you heard about the unfortunate things that happened, which we don't want to touch on. We don't want to go back, but it's been very unfortunate. Anyone watching, our sympathies are with you, and certainly something that we could have done without. But it's happened, so we need to live and move on. But the security angle of the Sri Lanka team has been taken very seriously, and SLC is asking ICC for extra protection, which is very good. But the under-19 tour of Pakistan to Sri Lanka has just got postponed. I don't think it's cancelled. It was a little bit too close to the sad things that happened on Easter Sunday. Now, how much of a impact would that cause, do you think, very briefly, Malinda, about Sri Lanka hosting games? Do you think that will affect us at all?
Of course, because hope you remember the attack in Pakistan and what happened in Pakistan. I was in the bus 2009.
But that was on a team.
Yeah, so this is once again, when you look at security reasons, I'm sure you remember that in Sri Lanka, the New Zealand team was in Sri Lanka. Suddenly the team has to go back. So the same situation arises. I'm sure it's not only for cricket, for everyone. It's going to be a bad memory. So once again, I'm sure this will end very, very soon, and that Sri Lankan cricket public or the viewers or the people who want to watch cricket, I'm sure that will not get that impact like in Pakistan, because we want cricket back in Sri Lanka. Even under-19 tour, you know how important it is for Sri Lanka. So I'm sure this will sort soon and we'll have some cricket in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, all of us are hoping that, we're praying for that things will be sorted out quickly. And well, we also must commend Sri Lanka Cricket. They have decided to donate 2 million rupees to the relief fund set up by His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, the Archbishop of Colombo. Well, there are upcoming A tours and emerging tours. Sri Lanka A goes to India in May and June. The Sri Lankan South African team goes to, or Sri Lankan emerging team goes to South Africa. That is apparently in June. Now, lots of World Cup discards are going on that A-team tour, which I think is a good one, Malinda. It's always good because a tour of India and playing against the Indian A-team is always tough.
Definitely, because I remember playing against India, that is a Dulip Trophy, but they have called a zonal tournament, which is very high in quality. So when you look at the IPL, you've seen the Indian players, how they're performing. So definitely it's going to be a very good A-team tour, and especially for the players who are not selected for the World Cup, that there's a good opportunity for them to come back, because we know the names like Akila Dhananjaya, Sadira, one of the good openers, then Niroshan Dikwala, to come out strong and show that we are ready again.
Yeah, now a few changes has happened. Now, first change is Roy Dias as A-team coach, Avishka Gunawardene as the emerging team coach. Now, how would you look at that? Because I say that because Avishka had done a decent job with the A-team. Now, don't forget, A-team and emerging is not about winning. If you win, it's a bonus, but it's about producing cricketers, just making sure that the national team is well fed. Now, how do you see this change?
Now, a few weeks back, I'm sure you remember that Avishka was sent to Australia as a batting coach. So he was like the next coach for us. So he's been looking after all the 18 players, and suddenly they want him to go to Australia to make sure that the batters are doing well, and Avishka was responsible. So everyone was talking very high about Avishka, and suddenly now he's been given the emerging team. I don't know the reason for that, because he's been doing a very fairly decent job with the 18 players, and especially when you go to Ketaram, you see all the 18 players, the national players are batting with him. So he's been talking very good with some of the new players. He has been given some names for the selectors to look into. So I'm sure he's been a very good coach, but unfortunately now he's been given the emerging side, and Roy Dias, who was the Sri Lanka under-19 coach, has been appointed as the Sri Lanka 18 coach.
Right, interesting things. And talking about interesting things, we're almost at the end of our program, and I like to finish the program on a very happy note, and that is a first by a Sri Lankan, Kumar Sangakkara. He has been elected president of the Marylebone, prestigious Marylebone Cricket Club. Well, the MCC, as they call it, has elected the first non-British president. And I'm sure it will bring Sri Lanka a lot of joy and certainly a lot of honor in terms of another feather in Kumar Sangakkara's cap. So we congratulate Kumar Sangakkara on his appointment or on his election as president of the MCC, and we hope that he will be able to take this game to the next level, particularly as MCC still determines the laws of cricket. Well, as I said, we are at the end of our program, but before we go, I need to ask you that question. Who has taken the most wickets for Sri Lanka in World Cups? We like to focus on World Cups because that's what's going to happen in a month or so. So the question is again on the World Cup. Who has taken the most number of wickets for Sri Lanka in a World Cup? Now, we asked you a question last week or the last time. What is Sri Lanka's highest total in a World Cup match? And the answer was 398 for 5 versus Kenya in 1996. That happened in Kandy in Asgiria, and that was the year Sri Lanka won the World Cup. And congratulations to Mohammad Ashad, who was the winner. Indeed, he was the one who picked the right answer. So congratulations to you. Before I go, I also like to remind you that you can visit ThePapare.com special hub for the 2019 World Cup. You got to just go into www.thepapare.com/CWC19 stroke. Now that will give you exclusive and quality content and the history of World Cups, and of course much more. So we hope you enjoyed our chat on Sri Lanka's chances in the World Cup and the team, and we look forward to joining you again very soon. Until we see you again, it's goodbye from me and Malinda Warnapura.